By the end of this video, you'll get a step-by-step guide to guarantee that your next backlog refinement session is super effective. This video will be from the point of view of a Scrum Master, but all the tips I'm gonna give in this video, the step-by-step guide, can also be used by anyone in the team. First off, what's the backlog refinement? Well, simple. The backlog refinement is a team event that helps with the Scrum process. The goal is to dig deep into the backlog, into each item of the backlog, which are high priority, to ensure that the team has enough information to work on these stories in the next sprint. It's a collaborative effort where the team comes together to break all the high priority stories into small chunks of work, add acceptance criteria, make sure that they have enough information to work on the stories, estimate the stories, and try to build a plan, craft a plan on how to execute these stories. Refining the backlog frequently on a consistent basis saves time, saves money, because it ensures that items which are about to be developed are ready prior to the start of development. It also ensures that the focus is always on working on high priority items, not low-level items, low-level priorities. Nope. Customer focused always, and work on high priority items. The product owner is the one who usually schedules and runs these sessions. As per the Scrum Guide 2020, the backlog refinement should take around 10% of the team capacity for this sprint. So if you're in this current sprint, you're refining the backlog for the next sprint. High priority items. And remember the goal. The goal is to ensure that all the items that might be taken up in the next sprint, because we don't know, we need to do the planning first, but the items that might be taken by the team, the user stories in the next sprint, need to be refined right now. Right now, because if we don't refine them, they won't be ready enough for the next sprint. So the goal is to do a team effort, the session. The session should be a team effort. Everyone in the team should join and talk together, collaborate together to ensure that there's enough information for the development team to start the development. You can use this simple but effective checklist to evaluate if a backlog needs to be refined or is refined enough for the moment. Just ask these simple questions to the product owner and the development team. Does the backlog currently contain items, user stories, anything else that no longer makes sense? If we implement these items, they won't bring value to the customer, or a lot of value to the customer. There's tons of other things that are more important in terms of bringing value to the customer. If that's really the case, the product owner should refine the backlog, ensuring that all these useless items are removed. And usually for this exercise, the product owner can't do that alone. The product owner doesn't need the development team. Did someone in the team, the development team, the product owner, suggest a user need, something that when developed and put to the market will really bring value to the customer? And this need, this item, is not really in an appropriate format in the backlog. If that's the case, please get the product owner or anyone else in the team to ensure that this item is in an appropriate format in the backlog so that the item can be refined in the next session. Does your company, the customer, the market expect that you will be working on and releasing a feature soon, and this feature is at the bottom of the backlog? That's not good. You should refine the backlog and ensure that top priority features that always try to bring focus to the customer, that will bring the most value to the customer, should be at the top of the backlog. High priority items that will be worked on next in the next few sprints, top of the backlog. So refine it and ensure that the low priority items are moved to the top if they are considered high priority. Does the backlog contain items which don't have any estimates, or the estimates are outdated? If the answer is yes, and these items are high priority, Really important to have a quick refinement session prior to the next sprint to ensure that all these items are estimated. Is there any high priority item so broad that the developers don't understand what needs to be implemented for this item? This item is not ready, and that's bad. I see many teams, many Scrum teams have a definition of ready, they never use it, or they have multiple definitions of ready. You should have a single definition of ready, which is visible. Everyone in the team should be aware of that, and they should be using it. A development should start only for an item in the backlog, a user story, when the story is ready, and everyone needs to agree that the story is ready. In a nutshell, a ready backlog item needs to at least be clear. Everyone in the team needs to understand exactly what will be the value behind this item and how to implement, what needs to be implemented. The item needs to be feasible. It can be done. The development team has confirmed that this item, it can be done. Maybe we don't know how to do it now, but this item, we think that it can be done. And the item needs to be testable. Extremely important. There needs to be a way for the development team or anyone to be able to test the product being developed or the product being produced prior to sending it to the market, to the customers. We need to ensure that this thing being produced can be tested so that we can guarantee that this product being produced is good, of good quality, and also meets the requirement, what was expected. So after asking all these questions to the product owner, the development team, you realize that the team needs to do a backlog refinement session. You ask the product owner to schedule the session, to run the session. But before that, as a Scrum Master, you should help the product owner prepare for the session. If you want an effective, successful backlog refinement session, we need to prepare for that first. The product owner needs to prepare for that first. The product owner needs to ensure first that all the valuable items, stories that will bring the most value on top of the backlog. All these stories which the product owner feels we're going to take in the next sprint, top of the backlog, appropriate format, well-written, acceptance criteria, very clear. If there's dependencies, mention that in the stories. If we need to do research first, mention that in the stories. Do the research first. And once the user story is ready, then we can start doing the refinement. Now, during the backlog refinement session, as a Scrum Master, you need to ensure that some key items get tackled. First, Agile way of estimating. Not in hours, not in minutes, not in seconds, not in days, in t-shirt sizes or story points. So much better. Acceptance criteria ensure that the team has established some clear and measurable acceptance criteria. And we will be able, once the product is finished, the development is finished, we will be able to play back these acceptance criteria and ensure that the final results meet the requirements. The user stories should clearly convey business value, and these stories should be broken down into small chunks, small enough so that we can complete these stories in a single sprint. Ensure that all the high priority stories that might be taken up in the next sprint, ensure that these stories are ready. They need to be ready prior to the start of development. And make sure that all these stories, the dependencies for all these stories, have been identified prior to the refinement session or during the backlog refinement session. We don't want any surprises in terms of dependencies, because these can be blockers. If we start development and we realize that there was dependencies, something's missing that we need to do first prior to the start of development, we will be stuck. So ensure that dependencies are identified prior to the start of development, and the backlog refinement session is ideal. It's an ideal session for that. If you want more tips, insights on Agile, Scrum, personal growth, click on the video that stands out the most on the screen right now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.